Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee and Connections, hosted at Good Coffee and sponsored by Georgia Power. Today we have Ms. Hope Brown Franklin with Legacy Realtors. She's going to fill us in on some of the first-time home buying experiences and also how to go about selling your first home. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, so first off, Hope, just kind of fill us in a little bit of what you do, who you work with, and kind of some of your past and how you got into this.
As you know, my name is Hope Brown Franklin. I am the Georgia Associate Broker and Florida Broker of Legacy Realtors. I'm also the Compliance Director as well. I've been in the real estate industry for almost 10 years. The first half of my real estate career, I was a real estate paralegal. As we also focus on foreclosures. As the market got better, then it was less foreclosures. So although I do have a master's with a specialization in healthcare management, I received a job here in Valdosta, Georgia, working in the healthcare industry, but my passion has always been real estate. So I decided to go back and obtain my real estate license. So now I'm here.
Yeah. You wear a lot of hats, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I guess first off, the process of buying a home, especially for first-time home buyers, especially with, it's not necessarily a process that's laid out in our education system, or really it's just something we're just kind of thrown into. Can you kind of fill us in on where the best place to start is?
Yes, the first place to start would be to contact a mortgage lender. The lender would be the one to get you pre-approved for a home loan. They'll evaluate your assets, your financials, your debt to income ratios, your credit scores. They normally drop the lowest and drop the highest and take the score in the middle, and they prefer a 620 or higher credit score.
All right, and that mortgage lender is going to be usually an employee of a bank, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. All right, and are there any in town that you recommend?
Yes, I definitely recommend Clay Hatsock. He's with Ameris Bank. Nikki Rogers, she's with CBC Bank. And as well as Cedric Johnson. He's not located here in Valdosta. He's located in Atlanta, and he's with Homestar. And I also recommend John Willis. He's with OnQ Financial in Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. All right, so were you in the realty market, I guess, when you were in Atlanta?
Yes.
All right, yeah.
Yes.
A little bit different than down here?
Definitely. It's a whole different ball game. But at that point, I specialized in foreclosures. I was a real estate paralegal. At that time, I did not have my real estate license.
I'm guessing this was around 2008, 2009?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Well, fortunately, we're doing a little bit better now.
Yes, definitely.
And there are a lot of people out there trying to get a home, like their first home, and interest rates are lower. So first off, from a qualification standpoint, is there any specific things? I know you mentioned the credit score of 620. Is there anything else that they look at?
I recommend for all buyers to obtain a pre-approval letter. I know a lot of buyers go online and fill out these applications for a pre-qualification letter. That's just information that you're submitting on behalf of yourself. Say, for instance, you could say you make $1,800 a month, but technically a lender may look at your bottom line number, which could change the pre-approval. So I recommend reaching out to a qualified lender and obtaining information from them so they can ask you for further documentation as well, so you can make sure that you can qualify for a home loan.
And that's, aside from just qualifying for the home loan, a lot of it's based on the home you're actually pursuing, correct? As far as the appraisal and how the bank sees that value. One thing that I've always had a question about is when you talk to people, they always talk about having to put 20% down. Is that always the case, or is there a certain amount or percentage base that's typical?
It depends on the loan type. Whenever it comes to a FHA loan, you normally only have to put down 3.5% of the cost of the home. A conventional loan, some people do put down 20%, but it's standard 5% or higher. If you're trying to cut the PMI, you would need to put down 20%. Also, you have the VA loan. If you're a prior veteran, that's 100% financing. USDA loans, that's 100% financing as well, but you can only purchase a home outside the city limits.
All right, so all of those have their own little niches that they work with, basically.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right, well, I guess when it goes after you talk to a mortgage lender, or do you talk to the mortgage lender first, or do you go to the real estate officer first, or real estate
I
agent?
would recommend future buyers to contact the mortgage lender first and obtain a pre-approval letter.
Okay.
Once you receive that pre-approval letter, it states the amount that you're approved for.
Okay.
So then I recommend the potential buyers to start interviewing agents. And you can always go in and speak with the agent to make sure that they're the right fit for you. You may have an agent that's extremely busy, really don't have a lot of downtime, not really flexible whenever it comes to showings or either communication. So you want to go in and get a feel for these agents to make sure that, okay, I really like working with her, or either, hey, I really don't care to work with him. So to go in and get a good feel of your agents, that's important as well.
All right. So from an agent basis, they're not all the same, and they all
Correct.
have different specializations. Now, do agents specialize based on price point of houses, or is it more of just certain markets?
Some agents specialize on price points, but myself, I serve all price points. I treat all my clients the same, and I actually look at all real estate deals as if I'm the one in their shoes purchasing the home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So from a realtor standpoint, what are some of the things that, because I know it comes down to a realtor's, they're working for a percentage of whatever they're purchasing or selling. What are some of the things behind the scenes that buyer may not experience, but that the real estate agent is handling for them or investigating for them on that house?
We deal with all the contracts. We're researching the home. We're studying the comps just to make sure that we negotiate the best deal possible for all our buyers. A lot of buyers, they're scared to contact a real estate agent in search of finding a home because they're afraid of all these big fees. Like, oh my God, do I have to pay the agent the commission? But I make all my buyers aware that my real estate commission is covered by the seller. So I represent all my buyers for free.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right, so you purchase a house. You worked with the mortgage lender, you worked with your real estate agent, and you purchase a house. But then you get into a state that we're in right now, where a lot of people are refinancing. And can you kind of give us the idea or some of the explanation behind that, and kind of why it's such a thing right now?
It's such a thing now because the interest rates are extremely low. Say, for instance, 6 years ago, you may have purchased a home and received a 7% interest rate. But now, if you have a great credit score, you would probably qualify for maybe 3.25. So considering that difference in interest rate, it makes sense to restart the loan. And you'll also receive a cheaper payment. So that'll be saving you money as well.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times, I know, especially when I was looking at it, when you purchase a house, you think, okay, well, there's a price tag of, say, $200,000, but you're paying that over, 15,
30
20
years.
Yeah,
Yep.
30 years. Yeah. And it adds up quickly when the interest rate is high.
Definitely.
Especially if the PMI and everything like that. So
Yes.
we kind of didn't cover it, but what is the typical mortgage length? And is that something that the buyer gets to choose, or is it more set by the mortgage lender?
It's more so set by the mortgage lender. A lot of the FHA loans are at the 30-year term.
Okay.
But you can have that discussion. A lot of buyers only want to finance for 15 years, which it would cost more, but you'll knock it out in 15 years. But if you want to extend it out, the 30-year term is the route to go.
Okay. Are there any penalties for buying or purchasing a home, or I guess paying out that loan earlier?
Typically, there are no penalties.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess, is there anything else that we want to talk about when it comes to first-time home buying, or do you want to move into selling?
I would advise all buyers to do your homework. Start researching, start saving money as well. Whenever I have a consultation with a new potential buyer, I let them know up front. I would recommend for a potential buyer to save up $1,500 to $2,500 up front. Because once we find a home, of course, we want to put in an offer. Once the property is under contract, we have to submit earnest money. The earnest money shows the seller that you're serious about the purchase. At the end, it will go towards the loan balance. I typically negotiate the lowest amount, which is $500. Also, throughout the due diligence period, you have to get the home inspected. Typically, the home inspections run between $250 to $400. And also, while you're in the process of purchasing a home, you have to obtain an appraisal. That's normally between $450 to $600. So you just want to make sure that you have the funds needed to cover those expenses.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess going into selling a house. So first off, should I sell my house right now? It's kind of like, what's the best time of year? Is, at the end of a pandemic the best time? Probably not around an election, but just kind of fill us in on that.
Typically, before COVID hit, I would advise sellers to sell their home in the springtime. That gives a lot of people time to obtain their income taxes, and a lot of people like to move around the time when the kids are getting out of school. But due to COVID-19, the interest rates are extremely low, and our inventory, believe it or not, is extremely low as well. So it's currently a seller's market. So if you're in the market to sell a home, now is definitely the time.
Now, are there, I don't know if bubbles is the correct word, but are there, say for instance, take Valdosta. We have Moody Air Force Base, which is a big home buyers or home seller, home buyers market, renters market. Are there different times, or does it fluctuate based on those industries around your market? Because I know, like right now in January and February, we're going to have a lot of military people coming in, a lot of military people leaving. So,
yes.
Do you encourage people to kind of keep an eye on that as well, or?
Definitely, and it's always up and down. Of course, we have Moody Air Force Base, but we have a lot of community colleges and colleges as well. We have a lot of people coming in from New York, California to have a second home. So as of right now, the market is definitely booming.
Okay. So how long do you think it would take to sell my house?
It depends on the condition of your home, the location, the price point. If you come to me, I'll give you a full evaluation on your home. I'll give you the comps for your home. If we price your home to sell it, it would probably sell in the next 30 to 60 days, if not sooner.
Now, do you have, I think I've seen on a billboard, maybe in Atlanta, like a 30-day guarantee or anything. Are there realtors around here that offer that guarantee, or is it just kind of you're trying to really push for that to be sold in that 30-day?
We're just really trying to push for it. As you know, different things do come up. We can't guarantee that the house will be sold in 30 days if we put the house under contract and the buyer's agent brings a buyer, and say, for instance, what if that buyer receives orders if they're military? So now they have to back out the deal. So although in a perfect world, we would love to sell every home in 30 days, sometimes it's just not realistic.
Yeah. And I know that one thing I've seen more so lately is for sale by owner signs. And I think it has a lot to do with the market. But what are some of the things that you encourage people to use an agency to sell their house for versus, trying to do it as for sale by owner?
Whenever it comes to a lot of for sale by owners, they're really not real estate experts. A lot of times, some for sale by owners, they have their house overpriced for the area. They don't understand the current market. They really don't have a clear understanding of the contracts. They just don't want to pay the real estate fee. Not knowing that whenever we take on a property, we also factor in the real estate commission. Also, we'll evaluate the comps for that area to hurry up and try to bring in a new buyer for that property. So we do a lot of work behind the scenes, not to mention we will handle all of the contracts. So that will remove that seller out of the loop, but they would have us as the listing agent to properly represent them.
Okay. So earlier you had mentioned a inspection. Now, when it comes to selling a home, is the inspection typically on the buyer, or can the seller go ahead and have an inspection done on their house to kind of encourage buyers to quicken the process?
The sellers, they can have a home inspection done, but throughout the process, I know whenever I represent any buyer, regardless if it's a new construction or not, I recommend for all buyers to obtain their own home inspection. So that's normally a cost that the buyer will pick up, because at least they get a chance to go out and pick the home inspectors. They'll receive a full report. If anything major is discovered throughout that home inspection, we typically do it within our due diligence period. So that gives me a chance to go back in and renegotiate for those repairs to be taken care of prior to closing.
Okay, so, and I'm guessing a lot of times stuff does come up.
Yes,
Yeah.
even with new constructions, things come up.
All right, so if, say you're at that process and you're doing that due diligence, and if your buyer falls through because, you can't, you're trying to negotiate repairs and, you just put a brand new roof on, you don't want to fix it, what happens then?
If the buyer backs out of the contract, at that point, the house just goes back on the market. If it's something severe like the roof, I do recommend for the seller to get that replaced
Yeah.
or either repaired because it's going to come up again.
But a lot of times it can come down to like appliances in the kitchen and everything as well too.
Yes.
So.
I've been fortunate so far whenever we do have repairs that are needed. A lot of the sellers do understand that, okay, let me go ahead and make these repairs, especially if this is the only way that I'm going to be able to sell this home.
Well, because there's a lot of money on the line.
Definitely.
Yeah. So now if the buyer does back out though, that earnest money then goes to the seller, or are there times where it will go back to the buyer?
It depends. If the buyer backs out within the due diligence period, they are entitled to the earnest money back.
Okay.
It's just that if you continue on with the deal, we get closer to closing, you're out of your due diligence period. And if it's not due to financial issues, then they will forfeit the earnest money to the seller.
Okay. And so technically the buyer or the seller is not actually holding that money. It's usually with the escrow account, correct?
It's normally with the closing attorney or either with one of the brokers.
Okay. Awesome. Well, unfortunately right now I rent my house. We are looking to purchase, but like you said, the market it's very limited on what's available, and it's also going quick and very
Yes.
competitive.
Definitely.
My parents' neighbor just sold their house for like 10% more than what they had it listed for, because people were out there
Highest
trying to
and
buy
best.
it. So yeah.
Yep.
And then my parents just put their house on the market because of that. So
Right.
so we'll see.
Yes.
Well, I guess that was kind of all the questions that we had. If there's anything else you want to fill us in on, you as a real estate agent, how people can contact you, any resources that they can get through the chamber as well would be great. And then we'll close it out.
Definitely. I could be reached by phone 404-989-4898, or either you could send me an email, hope.legacyrealtors@gmail.com. You could also follow me on Instagram, Hope the Realtor. You can add me on Facebook, Hope Brown Franklin. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to assist any potential buyer or either seller in Georgia or either Florida.
Well, thank you for being on today, Hope. Last thing I want to do is I just want to encourage everybody to come down to the Valdosta Chamber of Commerce on December 4th from 11:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. One Blood will be down there, and we're doing the Valdosta Young Professionals Blood Drive. Again, that's December 4th from 11:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.